Why go to IT, when you can just whip out your company credit card? Or tell me your problem, instead of coming up with your own solution, by userigel_fsiv. I think everyone that works in IT has had at least one encounter where a user rolls up with a solution instead of a problem. I had such an encounter a few months ago. One of our departments had a new joiner and they needed a piece of software installed on the joiner's computer. We looked through our software catalog, but couldn't find it. But, when we checked our inventory tool, we found that everyone in their department had it installed. I put it down to poor documentation, downloaded an installer, installed the program, confirmed it ran, and left it at that. A few days later, I'm asked what the license key is. Bugger. I look through our shared mailbox and cannot find any references to this product or vendor. I check our licenses folder and turn up nothing. I check with the team making the request to find out when previous licenses were purchased, check it against the department's budget for the periods when the licenses had been bought in the past, and discover we never purchased the licenses. After some more digging, I find out that the license cost is 125 Swiss francs per user. They've been purchased on the old manager's company credit card. The new manager does not have a company credit card. The current licenses they have are for an older version of the application. They previously licensed a user that no longer works for the company. Their old license cannot be transferred to the current version, and we cannot find an installer for the version they currently have. I reach out to the vendor's support for an old installer and, as expected, they told us to upgrade. Some arguments ensue as to who should be responsible for buying the new license. I say it shouldn't be us. My manager concurs. Their manager don't want the cost on their cost center, and this new joiner is sat there twiddling their thumbs one day a week because they need this software to complete their tasks. So I take a step back and figure out what this program actually does and what it is used for. It actually seems like a pretty cool application. You enter a path, enter some keywords or search terms, apply some filters, create date, last modified, file type, etc., and it will return all files that stays for those terms, identifying duplicates, highlighting the similarities or differences between files, etc. I ran it on our department's contracts folder and was able to find the invoice for a storage array we had purchased 7 years prior, but hadn't been able to find the invoice for, which was preventing us from selling it to a reseller. But why did they need the program? Every day, a series of reports come in from various locations. These reports are dumped into a single folder. The file names are randomly generated. Sometimes, 2 or 3 reports can come in between them checking the folder, but they only need the latest report. Sometimes reports are accidentally sent with no data in them, so these need to be discarded. They periodically need to find the latest report for a specific location and then email it to another team in another country. Different people on the team are responsible for different locations, hence why all the team need this program. So the team will open the program, enter the path of the folder containing all the reports, search for the location code, and then click Go. They then drag the latest report into the folder for that location and send an email to the team based in another country. It took about 5 minutes to understand the above process. I took a look into the contents of the report and saw that it's basically a CSV with a strange file extension. The first row is a header, containing the names for each column. The third column is the location code, which always follows one of the same formats. Within 15 minutes, I've written and tested a PowerShell script that will scan through all the files in the folder, use regex on the second line to extract the location code, copy the file to a new folder renaming it to the location code and the date the report was generated, plus an auto-incrementing number on the end if there are more than one from the same day, and then adding the original file name to a text file to prevent the script from checking the same file twice. The script was placed on a task server and scheduled to run every 15 minutes. This meant the team could now go into this new folder, use Windows search to find the location code, and then read the date in the file name to identify the latest report. It took about 5 minutes to train the team on the new process. And then, upon realizing that the team they forward these reports to could perform the task just as easily, it took another 5 minutes to change the path the renamed reports are saved to, and train the second team on their new process. They'd been using this process for around 5 years. It took them around 3 hours a week to complete. They'd purchased 4 licenses for the tool so far at around 125 Swiss francs per license. Estimating their hourly rate at 30 Swiss francs, their cost to date for completing this task would have been. Obviously, inflation, exchange rates, discount rate, etc. would alter this figure. But my hourly rate is around 41 Swiss francs an hour. I spent probably an hour trying to implement their solution, 5 minutes understanding their problem, and 25 minutes implementing and training them on my solution, a solution that eliminated one team's need to do any work at all on this particular task. That's 90 minutes, costing 61 Swiss francs and 50 Rappen. 23,900 Swiss francs. 61 Swiss francs and 50 Rappen. Do the maths. In short, when you have a problem, come to IT, don't try to figure it out yourself. My first help desk arrest, by user Frosty Patty. During college I worked for the university help desk. I had just gotten my first promotion and was finally allowed to go on site and work in our walk-in area. One of the people working phones got a call from a student about their Nintendo Switch not connecting to the residence hall internet. This is a somewhat common call as switches are incompatible with the 802.1x authentication our network used. The person working the phone did their best to explain this in English to an astonished customer, and long story short the customer flipped. He threatened the phone agent, found our address, then said he'd be over in 10 minutes to kill us all unless we let his switch on the network. Essentially being a glorified receptionist, this was relayed to me and full-time staff were made aware and decided to invite the university police over, who happened to be our office neighbors. 10 minutes go by and there's me, 3 staff members, and 2 cops standing in our dingy little walk-up area, when a student who must have been 5 feet 6 inches 120 pounds walked in with one hand in a fist and the other cradling his switch. Beyond that, it wasn't particularly eventful, but it was the first arrest of several I saw in my 2 years working there. Can you help me bypass those pesky US sanctions, by user Sanofakish? So this one is fairly short, but I was absolutely in awe. I work as second-line support for a big multinational. Not going into further detail, because of reasons. I also have additional duties regarding tech support of meetings and other events involving MS Teams and a multitude of other tools. A couple of months ago I received a long email chain regarding an online meeting between sites in around a dozen different countries including mine. I read through the entire chain and it boiled down to, the meeting itself always works fine, but for some reason we always have issues with the Q&A. One site has issues accessing it. It was never mentioned which site. I contacted the person, who sent it to me. Dear user, could you please elaborate on the issues this site is facing? We use this tool every day on site and it never appears to make problems. Best regards. Quiche. User then replied. Dear Quiche, the participants in question are situated in Iran and they have difficulty accessing the Q&A. It is probably due to the sanctions from the US against Iran. Do you know any way we can bypass them? Kind regards. I sat there at my desk, comprehending what was asked of me. My eyelids opening and closing by themselves, probably spelling out the Hague in Morse code or something. My internal monologue went something like, sure thing, just let me hit up old Joey and deal with this malarkey right away. Might solve the fucking Middle East crisis, while we're at it, am I right? I am not sure on what lists I just ended up on just being involved in an email exchange with the words bypass us sanctions in it. I will try to avoid visiting the US for a good while until I need my prostate checked by the TSA. I replied to user. Dear user, please consider using other common tool. Best regards. Quiche. Accused of breaking into my own office, by user __Matt__. First time posting. Edit including breakdown of abbreviations used. NOC equals Network Operations Center. WISP equals Wireless Internet Service Provider. Background: I used to work in a NOC for an WISP, and we also fielded the user calls. I was a senior engineer, which was basically a glorified L1 engineer that took charge in manager's absence. Story: it was a Sunday, I had started work nice and early and was the senior engineer on duty with 2 other junior engineers. An outage occurred in quite a large segment of our network, so we were all hands on deck fielding calls for a 200 to 300 user segment of the network, when I received a call from a user. Thank you for calling company name, you're speaking to Matthew, how can I assist? I say in my best telephone voice. She replies, my internet is off, in a frustrated tone. At this moment I realize the customer is upset and most likely affecting by the outage we have, but due to process I need to create a ticket and link user to the parent case for email and SMS updates on the ongoing issue. Kindly ask the user, no problem ma'am, I just need to locate your account. Please may I have the account holder's name and an email address or account ID. She then screams customer's physical address. Now normally this is enough to locate an account, but we are tasked to confirm 3 or more details on the account to make sure that we are speaking to the user in question and to ensure that we are somewhat upholding GDPR and not leaking information. I kindly repeat to the user, please may I have the account holder's name or telephone number as well. She then proceeds to scream at me, you do not need this information, I have dealt with this tech support more times than I can count because my internet is so $. At this moment I give the customer the benefit of the doubt and understand internet problems are frustrating and ask the user, please ma'am, I require this information to confirm that I am speaking to the account holder. User goes quiet for 10 seconds, there is an awkward silence. User, you don't work for company name, do you? Shocked by the question because who in their right mind would want to work in a call center during an outage? Excuse me ma'am. I reply confused. You're a thief. You have broken into the office and are stealing customers' info. I cut the call mid-sentence. I look at my juniors who are both staring at me and say I am not paid enough to deal with that. Customer proceeded to call over and over, but I spent the next 2 hours dropping her call every time I saw it in the call queue. Let my boss know to check the call recordings. I get a laughing emoji in response. 6 days later I find 16 customer service complaints logged against me that no one in management or customer service team told me about. Listen to the voicemails attached to tickets. Hello? There is someone in your office stealing people's information. I am worried about your staff's safety. He kept asking me for my information, and when I asked him why he needed this information he told me it is because it is what I want, and when I asked him if he truly works for company name he said no he doesn't and told me to $% off. Please, I am worried about your staff's safety, and also my internet is off. I must have listened to this voice recording 100 times and was declared the data thief of the office. Never dealt with a more delusional customer before. I asked the higher-ups if they terminated her contract like they have in the past for abusing staff on the phone. They neither confirmed or denied that they had, but we have never heard from them since. Smiley face. Don't let customers treat you like trash. During a shift change, by user Theoboli. I'm just getting settled in for my day and my first tech support call of the day comes in. Me, help desk, this is, me. User, hi, I locked my keys in my car. Silence for about 10 seconds. You, hello. Yes, I'm still here, is there an issue with a computer you're having? You, no. I locked my keys in the car, and can't leave. I'm not sure what I can do, did you want me to get you the number for AAA? Y'all used to come out with a Slim Jim and unlock our cars for us. Ma'am, I've been here for 5 years and this is the first time I've heard of this happening. Can you call maintenance? They used to do this all the time. I'm pretty sure they'd say the same thing, it's a liability issue and if something happens to your car door the company is liable for the damages. Here's their number. You can call them and talk to them. Hangs up phone. About 30 minutes later I follow up with maintenance. They said exactly what I said. They couldn't because of company liability. Apparently happened in the past, and a door got screwed up and were brought to small claims over it. Never again. Wonderful way to start that day.